Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, let's go. Video. Great one. What do English people think about Americans? Easy English. What is this again? I did a preemptive sub. Easy British English. Liked it. What do English... I can't talk. Vocabulary issues in the morning. It's 2 p.m. actually, so... Anyways. What do English people think about Americans? That was a rough intro. We're keeping it. Hi guys, hope you're doing well.
Hello, welcome to Easy English. So today I'm on the beach and I want to know what the people of Brighton think of their cousins across the pond.
Brighton.
This is what Brits think of Americans. Here we go.
South Coast? Where's Brighton? Crap. Is it English Channel Coast?
What are your just general thoughts on Americans?
My general thoughts on Americans are, I think they're quite brash, they're quite loud people. I was actually kicked off of Facebook for 24 hours for making a remark about the Americans.
There's a big contrast between everybody's, not just England's, but everybody's awareness of American culture through films and TV series and stuff, and then how it is in real life. And they have a reciprocal lack of understanding of other people's cultures, partly maybe because their media system is just so big and it pumps out so much stuff. Like
other countries' media and you know, music or film influence to us, like, isn't as we don't have the benefit of being more exposed to other people's culture, and so we often, I don't want to give us a pass. Like, you should still be able to know stuff about other people's cultures. You shouldn't have to just be hand-fed all of this stuff. I understand that, but it does make a difference. I think that certainly when I encounter or talk with people from different countries, they are just clearly much more educated on the society I live in than I am of theirs. And that has to do with a few things, but I think he worded it better than I could. So
they'll remake everything, right? The Ring, The Office, the this, the that. They remake it in their own light. So they don't get as much cultural education as maybe other countries do.
First of all,
and it's so bad that we won't even know that The Ring and The Office are remakes. It's like, oh, American.
Your general thoughts on...
I don't want to speak for everyone, okay? I'm one person, all right?
As maybe
that was very good point.
First of all, what are your general thoughts on Americans, US citizens?
Okay, I suppose...
Lay it on me.
Mainly we meet Americans when we travel abroad anyway, and so we see them as tourists and don't always have the best opinion of them as tourists. They're quite loud and brash and yeah, and I guess weight is an interesting issue as well, because we always see very overweight Americans. Yeah. So that's sort of perception. Right.
I can't stress enough. I did not go to Europe like being like, okay, are Americans fatter? Are Europeans not as fat? I didn't think about that. I just like notice. I'm like, everyone is skinny. They're just normal size skinny. They're skinny from my perspective. All right, it's just a fact. I've said this before. I do notice. I think smoking cigarettes popular in America a lot, a little more popular, definitely more popular in Europe, but it's unavoidable to notice how much more healthy everyone seems in Europe than over here. It's unavoidable. It's not just a stereotype. It's a fact. And I think it's a problem for
Right. My thoughts,
Americans.
A bit mixed in a way, because as we were growing up in poverty-stricken England, when Americans came over here, they always seemed to have lots of money and were perhaps a little bit louder than we are. However, after holidaying in America, I found them incredibly kind, quite sort of gentle and interested in people in England and the royal family, which I didn't know that much about, and also incredibly polite on the roads because they don't drive as fast as we do.
And how about you? What are your thoughts on the Americans?
I think they can be rude and abrupt.
Yeah.
I don't like Donald Trump. Not many people do.
No.
My experience of
politics also seem very different. I said before also, it seems like we have a lot of, I think that our politics is more spread out, whereas like what you guys would consider more right wing or more conservative is kind of middle of the road conservative over here. And we have much more conservative people, but we also have the more progressive liberal people that you guys have over there. So I think it's the political spectrum is a bit wider over here, and that's not a good thing, by the way. I'm not saying disagreement is a bad thing, but too much can be bad, and I think we're experiencing that over here.
My experience of being with Americans in America is that they were always very friendly and very welcoming.
Okay.
And particularly in New York, for example, I met quite a few people in New York, and they were like firm but fair.
Yeah.
And I think they're very honest.
Classic New York.
Only through the sort of, I suppose, the stereotypes that you know and create through yourself. They've seen as a nation very patriotic.
Yeah.
Compared to what perhaps we're more divided about that here. I think it seems to be from whatever political background they are in America. I'd say they all appear very to believe in the flag and freedom of speech and all the various amendments that they have.
Oh, yeah.
But, so I think they're probably more together in some ways than perhaps we are on certain things. But they're also very different from different polarising views as well, I suppose.
Caught me off guard when you said more together. I think maybe there are whatever political beliefs you have in America, you're going to find a lot of people that agree with you. Whereas I think this goes again to the more contained political spectrum in European nations where, you have a lot of, and so I think you might find more people in America that agree with you on a position that very little people would agree with you in Europe. Does that make sense? I think.
And things, but they're also very different from different polarising views as well.
So, like, we're more divided.
A general
but
overview of US citizens is it's a
find
vast
more
mixture. This country.
Sorry, you're more divided, but we're more divided. But there are so many people in each division of that division, of each part of. If you have any weird political belief, good chance you're going to find a lot of people in the U.S. that agree with you, no matter what it is. That's what I'm trying to say.
A general overview of US citizens is it's a vast mixture. This country is a small mixture, but lots of people think Americans are the big country, lazy, fat, as a lot of people say, but I've met and worked with Americans who are just not like that. And people from different states next door behave and act totally differently.
Connecticut.
I've not travelled too much in the US. However, I've been to the East Coast, New York and Boston. My perception has been very good. New Yorkers slightly more brash than the Bostonians, I guess, but I think the perception is very much that they are slightly naive, ignorant, perhaps.
I live right in between those two cities, definitely closer to Boston, but it's like a 3-hour drive to New York south, and then a 45 to an hour to Boston north.
And then you get this perception that they're all
it's interesting that he says that
and love huge portions. I can agree on the huge portions, but I don't know if it's fair that they're all naive and ignorant. And I guess on the reverse, that they think that we are very posh and all speak well and drink tea and eat scones, and again, that's not who we all are.
Nice.
But yeah, I think there are a lot of stereotypes.
I think the British accent just sounds smarter.
I'm a bit biased because I've got relatives in America, so yeah, I've got relatives in California, and I think they're great. They're really friendly and open.
And do they have any?
I've never been to California.
Character traits that kind of connect them all together, that you say are like outstanding character traits?
I think they're very warm and friendly and hospitable.
Come on.
But I do love English people too.
Come on.
Don't get me wrong.
This video is sponsored by italki, the site that allows you to find online language.
Guys, again, this is someone else's video. Make sure, if this interests you here, to make sure you use all their links, promo codes, the original link to the video, top of the description.
Which teachers for one-on-one tutoring. As a new user, you'll get $10 in italki credits after your first lesson if you register using the link go.italki.com/easy English. If you don't like reading complicated language books or listening to pre-recorded audio courses, then italki is for you. You'll get to practice your conversational skills under different real-world scenarios, as speaking with humans is the best way to learn a language. You can customize your lessons to cater for your learning needs and interests, and the one-on-one lessons provide you undivided attention with teachers at your preferred time, whether you're at home, at the airport, or at your local park. You have complete access. So head on over to italki with this link, go.italki.com/easy English to start your first lesson and get $10 in lesson credits. Have you been to the US?
Yes, I have.
Whereabouts in the US?
I did the Florida thing, went to Universal Studios, etc., and it was fantastic. Had a fantastic time. The Americans were lovely. It was very clean. So yeah, I had a really good time there.
Okay.
And they seemed to like the English.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we are their cousins, so you have to be slightly nice to us.
My aunt used to live there as well, in New York. So I remember New York in the early 70s, and travelling down on my own on a Greyhound bus from the airport out to where she lived, and I was 15 years old. I don't think you probably let that happen now.
Whereabouts in America did you go to?
We've been to California twice, and we've also been to Florida
so
and
East and
New
West.
York. Yes.
I've worked with quite a few people from the US, I suppose, through work, primarily from the East Coast and then some from the West Coast. But I think there's such a different range of people across the States because it's such a vast country, vastly different sort of cultures and the demographics, really. So I suppose it depends on where you go, what different kind of people you experience.
If you could take a character trait or a cultural thing from the US and bring it to UK to improve.
Oh, this is a good question.
UK life or UK culture.
Yeah.
Is there something that you like that you take?
Yeah, I think I'm a huge sports fan. I think the college sport is amazing.
Interesting.
And yeah, so I went to university and played first team tennis, but I was playing in front of maybe 3 people, whereas over there it's as big as some big tournaments, and I think it's the same for all sport. So
one of the things that always kind of confused me and still confuses me a little bit is when I realized, like, oh yeah, you guys don't have college sports, or what about high school sports? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's I can see that. And then I thought for a second, I'm like, where do you get the people to play for your professional sports? Because everyone in all the big sports leagues here, you draft, you get people that played the sports in high school or college. And so I was trying to figure out, like, how do you recruit new players for sports? Clearly, soccer's huge, football. That clearly it works, but it's like, how does that work?
I think that culture of sports in college and university being of huge importance to getting into professional sport would be really, really cool.
Right, because you get kind of sponsored.
Yeah, you get sponsored and you get drafted into the professional leagues as well.
Right, nice. Well said.
I guess they're lack of reserve, I suppose. How does that contrast with how you see people in our country? Americans are more, they give their opinion more freely, I think.
Right.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we probably could learn a bit more from that. We're sometimes too reticent, too shy to say what we think, too closed, whereas Americans are much more open. You can sort of tell what they're thinking and feeling.
Right. Is there anything...
I want to say I'm trying to think, what would I like from England? And I want to say history, but I feel like that's not a great answer because it's not like a cultural thing. Well, it is. But
that you would take from their culture or from their sort of personality traits that would improve?
I think there's bluntness, like brashness doesn't necessarily mean that you're being honest. I guess it does. I don't know. I'd have to think about it more.
Britain.
Yes, they seem to be quite happy to what we call blow your own trumpet.
I like this
whereas
phrase.
we always downplay anything about ourselves. And I think that's good. I think it must be good for children to have confidence in themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
I think there'd be a healthy balance, you know? Never saying what you mean and always being afraid, not a great thing. Never reserving and just blurting out anything, regardless of how the perception is, also isn't good. It's probably good to find a medium.
Your own horn.
Yes,
as well.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We're quite. You have to be self-deprecating.
Yes, exactly.
The comedy. Yeah. Hey, I'll take the comedy. I'll take British comedy. Who said this? Stephen Fry, Animal House. There's like the brash, frat guy who's just like, whatever. That's the American. And then there's the guy who's like playing a banjo, and then the guy slams it. And he's like, the British think of being the guy in the banjo. I think that's, rather than the Jerry Seinfeld like humor of just like, I'm great. Oh yeah, I got the girl. Oh yeah. Like that can get annoying. All right. It's like, yeah, we get it. It almost doesn't feel like comedy. It's just like, look at me, But not all American comedy is like that. I do think it's more prolific in British comedy, and I think that's better.
Oh, that positivity, I think.
And it's more subtle too. I don't like let me laugh. Don't like make me laugh. Anyways, I like more subtle stuff that I can find and find funny.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We're quite. You have to be self-deprecating.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Oh, that positivity, I think, generally, I think would go down pretty well. I think.
Is this saying that we're a bit?
Go on.
Self-deprecating or something? Or...
Self-deprecation is fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a nice trait. But I think sometimes it can go a bit far, and I think a lot of people can put themselves down, or it can be a bit oppressive.
Right.
Like, the British can be a bit oppressed.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the Americans are much more open to what life can bring.
Yeah.
The one thing I think Americans have got, which a lot of people don't agree with, is they believe in their country. Majority, perhaps not everyone, but I think the Americans say, hang on,
Yeah.
And, and they're proud of it, and I think Britons should be the same. And there's lots of reasons why they're probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really understand. That's the second time someone brought that up about... I mean, there are people who are like, oh, like, this country sucks or something, but I think at the end of the day, they'll be out there at the 4th of July parade.
But we should be proud of what we got.
It's seen as a bit of a faux pas here to be kind of proud of your nation.
Yes,
right?
yeah. People are embarrassed, I think, too.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on the US citizens, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
There were clips on Facebook showing Americans trying to aggravate and annoy the guards of honour at the castle. So I put the comment and I was kicked off of Facebook.
So Americans don't like you either?
Well, obviously not.
I need to hear more about how that happened. Yeah, very interesting, guys. Love these videos. I love hearing other people's perspective on or idea of the country I live in. So these are really enjoyable. Some of them have funny answers too that I think are really true. Hope you guys are all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below, any answers to any of the questions I had, any comments at all. Love to hear it. Love to see it. You guys are always great with it. See you guys next time. Bye.